So, good morning or good afternoon or whatever. Good to see you. I hope you're well. And yeah, maybe let's start with some prayers. In the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly, I take refuge until I attain enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and the rest, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. In the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly, I take refuge until I attain enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and the rest, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. In the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly, I take refuge until I attain enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and the rest, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. Then the four measurements. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the sacred happiness devoid of suffering. May they dwell in boundless equanimity that is free from attachment and aversion. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the sacred happiness devoid of suffering. And may they dwell in boundless equanimity that is free from attachment and aversion. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the sacred happiness devoid of suffering. May they dwell in boundless equanimity that is free from attachment and aversion. Then a praise to Buddha Shakyamuni. With skillful means and compassion, you were born in the Shakya clan. Unconquerable by others, you vanquished Mara's hordes. Your physical form resplendent like a mountain of gold. To you, the king of the Shakyas, I pay homage. So, welcome everyone to this discussion on patience. And as you know, yeah, it's based, of course, on Shantideva's Bodhicharyavatarā. And we have discussed already quite a lot on patience, which is, I think, one of the biggest chapters of Shantideva's text. And I just thought I'd give this, a small summary of the tools or ideas or suggestions that Shantideva is doing, because he is, first of all, presenting that anger, the opposite of patience, is really a big problem, because basically it strengthens our dualism, which is the problem in Buddhism that we want to overcome. By anger, you know, we widen the gap between ourselves and others. You know, that is basically the thing. And therefore patience is so important. And in order to generate patience, then Shantideva gives various instructions and tools and methods. And then he's also again and again showing what kind of doubts we or our samsaric mind might have, and what kind of justification we try to come up with why in a particular situation we don't need to be patient, but that anger should be the answer. And I think one could maybe point out like four things so far. Maybe I just write them down, because I can maybe start a document here. So one moment. So the first thing is, so don't get angry. Why? Because anger creates future suffering. That is sort of one big point that Shantideva was discussing, and this is also coming up today in today's verses. So the idea is, yeah, anger, as I said, solidifies our dualistic perception, and it also makes our perception more in a way that we are not really looking positive at people, but we are more likely to feel threatened by people, or everything looks like against us. So that kind of tendencies are created by anger. And in the Buddhist context, this is then in its biggest result is like the hell realm, that is the future result of anger. So that is sort of the one point, definitely, why we should not be angry, by reflecting that all these unwanted consequences will come. And then the second one is also, don't get angry, because basically it makes us because our present problem, how to put it quickly, shortly, basically it doesn't solve our present problem, it's not a solution. Maybe like this. So if I'm in an unwanted situation, then if I'm getting angry, that really is not helpful. But the problem is, it even makes me unhappy in that situation. So Shantideva talked about that a lot, and this will also come to today. If, for example, out of jealousy we become angry, that doesn't help us at all, But the problem is, even we are suffering from it, We get the problem, Our good moment or good day is ruined by our anger. We lose our peaceful state of mind. We lose our sleep. We lose our appetite. We lose our friends. If we are angry. So therefore, it's not really a solution. And therefore, better be happy, because not like just like New Age, or don't worry, be happy kind of thing, but based on the understanding that this difficult situation that we are in at the moment is, of course, coming from our previous karma. I mean, not previous karma, from our karma that we have accumulated previously. And so therefore, when it's now ripening, then it is exhausting itself. So how to put it, because previously accumulated bad karma is exhausted. So that is actually, if we are coming into a difficult situation, then then here in the mind training context, we are even encouraged to be happy about facing difficult situations, because we know by that, some negativities that we have accumulated in the past, they come to a fruition, and then they are exhausted and will not appear again. And they could appear in much worse situations, or much like in a much longer lasting suffering. But maybe it's just now appearing today, and like 1 hour of difficulties, or maybe 1 week of sickness, or whatever. So that is not so bad, it's manageable. So therefore we could be happy about that negative karma is now purified or exhausted. And the other thing, be happy, because we can bring suffering onto the path. So, for example, yeah, I don't know, this is very like spontaneous phrasing here. We could, for example, use it as a Tonglen thing, you know, like if somebody has a specific suffering at the moment, like me, for example, if I have, I don't know, like maybe I feel very angry because I feel taken advantage of, or I feel that somebody is treating me badly. Then I can bring that on the path in the sense of Tonglen, for example, where then in that situation I would breathe in sort of the suffering of everybody who is in a similar situation, who is treated badly and who's taken advantage of. So, and I can visualize that I take in all their suffering, all the feeling of hurt or all their pain, and by that exhaust their situation of feeling being treated badly. And instead, when I breathe out, I give them all the opposite, you know, all the respect, the love, the care, and everything they need, you know, and that by that, yeah, maybe formulate the wish that they never come into situations where they feel badly. And maybe just to conclude these 4 points, we could also, for example, put that in context of if we have an illness. For example, the first one here, anger creates future suffering. For example, if we have an illness, some people, they tend to complain a lot about it, you know. Like, for example, when I work with kids, they don't do that much, you know, they just accept it and that's it, you know, and then they play and are more easygoing. But some people, they really take it so badly and then they complain. And so therefore, in the example of illness, or whatever disease, yeah, don't complain about it, because this complaining is really like, is also a tendency that creates a lot of future suffering, because yeah, we develop that that habit of complaining and seeing the faults and things, yeah, those things. And the second thing here, when we apply that to being in a situation where we are sick, it's the same, you know. If we are getting angry that we are sick, you know, or like, yeah, if we are complaining, or if we are having this self-pity, you know, or if we worry too much, then that is not a solution, you know, but it makes us more unhappy, and it creates an extra suffering, you know, because that, yeah, feeling self-pity or worrying too much, having too much fear, and yeah, this aversion, basically, you know, to the situation, doubles the unpleasant experience of the situation, and it will not really help us to be happy or healed. So therefore, that is that we can also apply here now to a situation where we are sick. And then the third point, when we are sick, then we can also understand, yes, that the sickness or disease is not coming because of a God is giving a penalty. Is that the right word, or is it only from football? I'm so much into that. But giving us, what is it? Yeah, I think penalty. Giving us the sickness, or that the sickness is coming out of nowhere. It's not the case like that, but sickness can only happen because of karma that we have accumulated. So therefore, we can then understand that the sickness is maybe a reason to be happy. You know, that also comes in the 8th chapter. So if we are sick now, then that could be a good thing, because that karma is ripening now and exhausting itself now as a sickness. Otherwise, it could have maybe ripened in a whole, as a whole existence. You know, we could have had a whole life of suffering, maybe thanks to that karma. But because of our practice and so on, now this karma appears in a more mild way, you know, like a sickness, for example. So, and by that, it's done with. So therefore, that is one way of looking at it. So we can be, we can be happy about it. And then, of course, we can be happy about any sickness also, because we can bring it on the past, like again with Tonglen as the example. We can breathe in that sickness or any sickness or the pain or whatever from other people and take it upon ourselves, and then send out a lot of health and sicknessless, freedom of sickness, health basically, and healing energy, whatever, with our out breath. So we can use it on our path also. So these are just for perspectives that Shantideva was offering again and again over the 6th chapter that we have discussed so far. And I think they're very usable, and they help us to not immediately jump to the conclusion that what we perceive as difficult or negative, that it is really difficult or negative. Maybe it is a good chance, like a blessing in disguise, or even if not, that there are still possibilities to work with it in a more constructive way. There's one message to me. Since it's a private message, I'm not reading it, but the idea is I think I'm not really getting it, but my answer still would be, no matter how angry we are, you know, like or how much negative karma we have created through whatever actions. According to Dujum Rinpoche, he said the good news is always it is purifiable, you know, it's removable. So therefore, no need to be too afraid of it. Of course, be afraid, but not thinking we are determined to go to hell or something like that. Yeah, so these 4 points I thought I wanted to share, because as you have noticed, Shantideva's book I think is great, but there are not. He didn't insert so many headings. It's just like 10 chapters. That's it. So also so it doesn't look like so structured. So therefore, sometimes it's good maybe to summarize things or put these things together. Anyway, where we are is verse 73, and that is talking actually about the first point that I mentioned here out of these 4 points, that Shantideva is asking us not to be angry, because anger just creates more future suffering. And so that verse 73 is exactly saying that if I'm unable to endure even the mere suffering of the present, so if we are yeah, normally, of course, there are exceptions, but usually what I experience is like very small sufferings, small illnesses here, you know, small losses, small disrespect, and but I'm so hypersensitive, you know, like this princess on the P, that that even small sufferings look so big to me, and I'm suffering from that. And Shantideva is then saying, yeah, if you're already suffering by these small things that are so minor compared to what other beings experience, like in this realm or in other realms, then he's asking himself, but we should ask ourselves, then why do I not restrain myself from being angry, which will be the source of hellish misery? Because yeah, for sure we will. If we now become angry when facing this present difficulty, that anger will create much more suffering in the future. You know, this future suffering that I mentioned earlier. And knowing that we should practice more kind of restraint or renunciation in terms of anger. So in other words, the best way to prevent future suffering is to not get caught up in anger in the present moment when a seemingly difficult situation appears. But yeah, we know that from the meditation instructions, it's we don't have to. It might be useless to try to totally fight the anger and just like tell ourselves that anger should not arise. But it's sort of so that is impossible, because we would. I mean, sometimes it's possible, but most of the time it's not the method that is prescribed, because we would need a very strong entity in our mind to make that anger stop. So that is difficult. So in meditation instructions, it is advised, like in chapter 4 and 5, that we perceive the anger when it's very weak and not really anger yet, you know, but just like a subtle aversion or irritation or frustration. And then, yeah, we don't do anything with that. But also we don't give fuel to it. We don't nourish it. We also don't need to actually push it away. You just let it come and let it go, you know. But and instead of that, instead of getting involved into it, we remember all these teachings on patience, and then yeah, practice that. Yeah, I think that's about verse 73. Is there anything in that regards? And if you want to discuss that is related to that patience, anger, disease, small suffering now, big suffering later kind of thing. Emilia, is it really on that topic? If not, yes, as you notice, tomorrow there's a Q&A session where we can discuss everything.
No, it's related to anger. I recently was a work situation. We had a committee of people, and then I noticed not the anger in myself, but someone was speaking and I interrupted the person, for which I apologize. But the guy, he shouted back at me, just saying, "Let me finish." And it was quite shocking. I perceived the anger in him and irritation and so on. But I didn't feel angry about that. But I didn't just let it be. You know, I sent an email, asked if he wanted to talk because of that kind of overreaction. It didn't really pan out, but it was the opposite. It was, I thought it was actually interesting that I didn't go straight into an overreaction, and I didn't have any problems with apologizing for interrupting, but seeing and then making a decision to try to, if there are any irritations that I'm causing this other sentient being, to try to handle it and discuss, rather than to just leave it as if it was a collegial behavior, you know. I think I could have just not done anything, but I just felt that I didn't want it to escalate. I didn't want to be in other meetings with this person and then have these, I don't think it's a collegial behavior, people shouting at each other. You could be judging, but yeah, was anger the other way around.
Yes, thank you. Yes, when I said we don't do anything about it, that is sort of more like meant internally as a practitioner in our mind. You know, when we have anger, then let's not get involved in it. You know, but of course, if we are in a situation with other people, then it's definitely good to talk about it and to talk about the situation. But I think you also did it in that way that maybe in the situation itself, it might be too difficult or too heated. But then, yeah, then later or another day or over coffee, then to come back to it, and when all the minds are more calm and cool, then that is definitely good. Yeah, of course. Yes, thank you. Marlene. You're still muted, in case you're talking already. Still muted. Still muted. Yeah, it seems you are talking, but we can't hear you. And yes.
Sorry. My question is, you said instead of restraining anger, we should let it go and watch it and let it go. So I have very often, when reading Dilgo Khyentse, he says, watch, the mind is watching mind. So whenever I read that, I ask myself, what is watching? What does it include? What does it exclude? And so watching the anger, to let it go, what do I watch at the anger? If I don't make in the meditation, if I don't make interpretations, or if I don't make thoughts, but just watch. So what is watch?
Yeah, watch is exactly what I try to describe, and not fueling it or not nourishing it, and also not trying to push it away, because that might need too much energy. But we are just, you know, like, wait, how's it called? Sitting on the dock of a bay, you know, the song by Percy Sledge. You know, we're just sitting there, and then he's saying, like, watching the tide come in or watching the waves roll in or something. I forgot the lyrics. But so we're just watching the waves, you know, coming in and going out, you know. And that just let, you know, we are not trying to put a rope on the wave to get it, or we're not trying to push them. So that is the watching. And watching is session in Tibetan, and that is the whole chapter 5. You know, here it is translated as vigilance. Yeah, not interfering, not judging, not getting involved, not nourishing, but just let it happen and subside. Yeah, and then from the higher teachings, then then if we are more able to do that, then we are more able to see the wisdom that is in anger, because we are not pushing it away, and we are not entangled, getting entangled in its toxic energy, but we are more connecting to the raw energy of anger, which is wisdom, and yeah, for that we have to let it free, you know. If you love somebody, let him free, or something. It's another song. Okay, here's a message. People throw tantrum as a release. Oftentimes, it's not really about the current occasion. Obviously, they experience suffer, pain, for offended in other situations. Yes, without knowing it. Yeah, that is for Emilia's topic here, because she has experienced being scolded harshly from others too. Yes, I also know that, you know, whenever I'm getting angry or impatient with anybody, it is never that personal, you know, like because it just like so many other things have been bottled up in me, you know, and have accumulated. This irritation, you know, has become like a tumor, you know, getting bigger and bigger. And then, yeah, and then I meet a seemingly weaker person, maybe in a situation, who's doing a little thing wrong, you know, and then everything comes out, you know. That is totally unfair, but yeah, I'm sure we all do that, but maybe I'm alone with that. But yes, I think it's like that. If I would have come with a like a neutral, equanimous state into that situation, then I would not have become angry. But because there's so much other baggage I'm carrying, then yes, I'm exploding. So where are the teachings on using the awareness of anger to find the wisdom that you just mentioned? So where are they? Definitely in Google somewhere. But within the Buddhist context, this is more like Mahamudra Dzogchen view, but also Buddha nature teachings. Like in general, all these teachings that don't, you know, in Buddhism we have so many methods. Some methods, they are more like removing the problem, and like yeah, if we are alcoholic, we don't go in the bar, you know, anymore. So we remove the bar from our life, you know. Yeah, and then there are other methods where we do the opposite, like here, you know, if we have anger, then we do the opposite, which is patience. So we are training in that. And then there are some methods where they have the view that we can transform something negative into something positive. So that is more like alchemy. But then there are some methods that are more focused on revealing the true nature of things. So and if we follow those methods, then we don't have to do anything with a particular appearance, but we just not just, but yeah, but the only thing we have to do is that we perceive the things as they are, without our interference. So we're just watching, as Marlene was quoting Deokin Rinpoche. And by that, the true nature of that particular phenomenon, for example, anger, is revealed. And we don't have to do anything about it. Otherwise, you know, we don't have to transform anger into wisdom, or we don't have to, I don't know, all the other methods. We don't need to alter anything, but we're just letting things appear in front of our very watchful mind or awareness, and then the true nature reveals, and then the wisdom that is the actual nature of anger can manifest. because in my case as a samsaric being, anger, no, in my case as a samsaric being, wisdom only manifests as anger because that wisdom energy is distorted by my ego-centeredness. But if I take that out of the picture by just watching things without judging or interfering, then things can manifest as they are. Yeah, and that is Mahamudra, for example, is in Buddhist context is a good place to learn about that, or Buddha nature teachings. But it is also a little bit, I think few verses by Shantideva was also on that. But here in the 6th chapter, Shantideva is using the methods that I mentioned, and they're always based on understanding. You know, we try to understand the situation, the relative functioning of our mind or our mental events better. You know, how anger comes into place and how destructive it is. Okay, then verse 74. For the sake of satisfying my desires, I have suffered numerous burnings in hell, but by those actions, I fulfilled the purpose of neither myself nor others. Yeah, that is also basic Buddhist understanding that if we have a lot of desires or aversions in our lives, then of course that is in itself limiting. But then in the process to fulfill our desires or to fulfill our angers in the sense of to avoid all the things that we don't like. So in the process of following these emotions, then we create more and more negative emotions and more negative actions. And by that, and that we have done in so many previous lives, and therefore we have suffered so many times in various lower realms, for example. And what is it? But by those actions, I fulfill the purpose of neither myself nor others. Yeah. So if our actions are so driven by trying to fulfill our desires or trying to avoid everything that we are angry with, if that is our lifestyle or the way of life, then that is not the Bodhisattva's way of life, Bodhicharyavatara, but it is a life that is really not helping us because we are getting more and more into trouble, and it's also not helping others. So it's a very wasted life and a very a life that brings a lot of suffering and confusion. And therefore, in verse 75, Shantideva is saying, what's it? Yeah. And that is sort of a summary. But now, since great meaning will accrue from harm, which is not even a fraction of that, I should indeed be solely joyful towards such suffering that dispels the harm. Yeah, this is also related to one of the points I mentioned earlier, the 4 points in the beginning of the session. That yeah, the suffering that we are having now is pretty small, but the suffering that we create with our anger, that is pretty big, you know, and the suffering, so that is the future suffering. And therefore it is good that we under no circumstances become angry with a present situation that we are in, even though that looks very difficult or painful or very unwanted. But that yeah, here it says, yeah, we should be solely joyful. But if we come into unwanted situations, yeah, we could try. If we develop patience, then that is sort of the joyful thing, because our mind then can remain, yeah, happy, peaceful, equanimous, and so on. So that is yeah, that is the joy that is meant here in verse 74. And yeah, this comes really again from an understanding. As I said, Shantideva is often educating our way of thinking, that a present anger will create a lot of suffering in the future, and he is sort of doubting if we are able to bear that suffering of the future, if the present suffering that is much smaller is already very overwhelming. Okay, and by that, even though that was not so clear in these last 3 verses, but by that actually we cover, according to Khenpo Khonsang Palden, we covered one bigger topic that was about cultivating patience when our loved ones are treated badly. Maybe you remember, first we were asked to cultivate patience if we are suffering, and then especially if somebody is treating us with contempt. And just now, like from verse 64 to 75, it's more about if our loved ones are treated badly. And from now onwards, like 76 to 86, then Shantideva is talking more about, yeah, that's a little bit twisted, but how we cultivate patience if somebody is doing good towards our enemies. Because usually we are happy if our enemies suffer, but if then somebody is doing good to our enemies, that is then problematic for us. Yeah, maybe just start up there with the next verse to make it clear what's about. 76. Should someone else find joyous happiness upon praising my enemy as an excellent person? Why, mind, do you not praise him too? That's the bit here. And likewise make yourself happy. That's what I mean. It's a little bit twisted, but maybe we can use a good example. So, as you know, I'm German, and Germany recently lost against England in the European Championship. So let's say I'm a German and my enemies are the English people, yeah? Like in the English team, you know. So, and then let's say we have Paul McCartney, who's also English, and he is praising the English team. Yeah, so that is, I think, what Shantideva was talking about here. Paul McCartney is praising the English football team, my enemies, and that makes, of course, my enemy happy, the English team, but also Paul McCartney himself. He's also happy if he is admiring something, if he's seeing positive qualities in something, like the English team, you know. So that is the first point here. So Paul McCartney is creating happiness in the English team by praising them, and he is creating happiness in himself by praising him. But I see the English team as my enemy. So therefore, I'm usually suffering from that because I want the English team to lose. I want the English team to suffer. So that is how I usually function. The problem is I suffer then if Paul McCartney is praising the English team, but that is my own doing. And it is against my original wish that I want to be happy. You know, as the Dalai Lama often says, you know, we all sentient beings want to be happy and avoid the causes of suffering. Of course, Shantideva is also saying that. And so if I'm getting angry that the English team is praised, then I'm actually, that is against my original wish of being happy. But yes, it's my jealousy, and that is in my way, and that is very stubborn. But Shantideva here, wait, I show it again, is then saying to us, why, mind, do you not praise him too? So why, Arne, are you not praising the English team too? And likewise, make yourself happy. So if I would, not get entangled into my jealousy, but also praise the English team, then I could be happy myself, because really just praising somebody makes oneself happy. And it is the antidote of jealousy already, and jealousy makes me suffer. So, and then the English team will also be happy if they hear my praise. And I could also rejoice in Paul McCartney praising the English team. Got it? So that's a win-win-win situation. If I'm more like that open-minded. And of course, as I said, it's praising is the opposite of jealousy. Therefore, the more I learn to praise and rejoice in something or someone, of course, something positive, then like even in this case, a better team, you know, like English team was better. They have positive qualities of playing good football and so on. So even if I'm so the more I do that, the less jealousy I have in general. So my jealous character will decrease, and then I will suffer much less. I will do much less negative actions towards others that normally are coming out of jealousy, and therefore also people will find it much easier to be with me. It's, you might have noticed it's very difficult to be with somebody who's really jealous, you know? So that was 76, and here's something from Shashi. How then to proceed when we are talking about, say, Taliban, and there are praises to them made by other fundamentalists for the religious order? Yeah, I can only remedy that with Tonglen. Yes, good point. That's why I meant, you know, like, please only rejoice in good qualities. And it's not a great quality, but at least the English team played good football, let's say. So that is a goodish quality. It's not amazing, yeah, but it's something there. Like Taliban, or my favorite example, Hitler, or whoever, you know. So very negative people, let's say Taliban, if they are harming others or killing others, yeah, whoever, you know, and it doesn't matter which scale, you know, even if I do something small negative, we should not rejoice in that, of course not, because rejoicing works in both ways. In Buddhist practice, we usually do it to rejoice in the marriage of all sentient beings, you know, like of course Buddhas, of course Bodhisattvas, even Arhats, Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, even ordinary people's marriage, and whatever they did positively, we rejoice in that. And then the Buddhist teachings say, they don't say it, but let's use the example. We are sort of accomplice. Accomplice, is that the word? Good, thank you. And so by that we even create the same merit as the person who originally did the action. And so it is the same. It goes also for the opposite. If somebody is doing something very negative and I rejoice at that negative action, then of course I need, that creates the same negativity as the evil person accumulated, because yeah, my heart must be very negative to be able to rejoice in that negative action. So yeah, therefore we should not like randomly rejoice in whatever action, but we definitely only select positive actions which have some benefit. And yeah, and an action is of course more positive the more people are benefited, and and the longer the benefit is, and the more profound the benefit is. And yeah, therefore, like a football game, that is really just a very superficial example. It's not really a profound benefit. It's not for long term and so on, and it's not liberating, you know. But in your example, if I would rejoice in somebody who has killed many people, yes, that is definitely to be avoided. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's also the same with you know, when we talk in Abhidharma about karma, how a karma is complete. So that only relates to one person. If I do an action, if I do a negative action, and I can make it less complete by regretting it, you know. But I can make it more complete by rejoicing that I have done it, you know, like, yes, I killed somebody, and then I'm happy that I killed that person. So then it's really a complete action, you know, if I had the motivation and everything. But if in the end of an action I regret that killing, then that killing is really like weakened, karmically speaking. And the same goes also with positive action. If I did a positive action, but then I regret afterwards, then also the positive effect is weakened. But if I rejoice in it, you know, that I'm happy, I don't know, I cooked a meal for 100 people, and then afterwards I'm happy about it, then it's more complete positive action. Yeah. Marlene.
Couldn't one say that all this looking in a positive way is nothing else than non-duality? Because everything which could be negative, I turn into positive. All the emotions, negative emotions, I turn into wisdom. So my whole life, which is permanently composed out of doings and karmas, and if if I always try to make the positive side out of whatever I do, then it's non-duality. So that's unity. I don't know if I make myself understood.
I think you, yes, yes.
I mean, sorry, forget it.
No, I'm just wondering if just because there is good and bad at the same time doesn't mean it's non-dual, right?
If you turn the bad into good immediately, instead of doing bad, thinking bad, changing it into positive, then the result is unity, is non-duality. And that's the aim.
That is so tricky, these words, duality and unity. That's why I'm a little bit reluctant. So
non-duality, we keep.
Yeah, of course, non-duality. Let me think about that. So my point is, for example, if I'm stingy and then instead I practice generosity, then that is not non-duality, because my generosity is just positive and not beyond positive and negative. Do you get my point?
Yeah. Okay.
So therefore, it would not be it would not necessarily be non-dual, but it's just out of duality. It's just one side, the good side, you know. Whereas if we talk about your example, like if we are able to see the true nature of anger, which is wisdom, that is non-dual. Yes, because that wisdom that we then reveal is totally beyond anger and no anger, but it's just wisdom that has never been touched by anger. Actually, I know you know the Buddha nature teachings. You know, it's like the sun that is like we know from the Heart Sutra, like the sun that is that has actually never been clouded and never be free of clouds, because it has never been clouded. Got it? It's so strange. So I mean, from our point of view, the sun is now clouded and the clouds go, and then the sun is not clouded. But from the sun's point of view, the sun was never clouded, because, and therefore there's never a lack of clouds. I think I'd make it more complicated than necessary. But it's like in the Heart Sutra, you know, there is no attainment and no non-attainment.
It's beyond.
So exactly, and the wisdom is beyond. That is my point. You know, the wisdom is beyond anger or freedom of anger, because there was never anger in the wisdom in the first place. That is the point, you know. But if we are stingy and then practice generosity, then generosity is sort of the reaction to stinginess. So it's a very dependent practice, you know, dependent on stinginess, and it's deliberately the opposite of stinginess. So therefore, it is still in the realm of duality, and therefore, even if we look at stinginess and generosity at the same time, it looks like, yes, we have everything together. So that looks sort of non-dual, but actually it's totally dual. We have one negative side and one positive side. And of course, on the relative level, we try to practice the positive. And so therefore, on that level, we cannot speak of non-duality. And you didn't speak on that level, actually. But on the level of wisdom and anger, there we can speak of wisdom being on the non-dual level. Yes. Did that confuse more? Most likely.
I mean, anger belongs to the emotions.
Yes.
It's an undersection of hatred, perhaps. So,
yes, exactly. Yes.
So of course, I try to be nice. I try to be patient. I try to feel joy for the winning of the adversary. But that's also dual. I mean,
exactly. That is my point.
Ah,
yes.
Okay, but where is then the wisdom? You were just talking about the wisdom. I mean,
yeah, and the wisdom is beyond both.
Exactly.
That is my point.
Wisdom I can only see. When can I see the wisdom of this, of the anger? Only in the dream. I mean, I should. I can dream about that wisdom, and everybody does. But I mean, if we have good dreams, we can dream about this wisdom, about several kinds of wisdom. I mean, it's not a joke. It's honest. I mean, it's serious.
No, okay. My point is that when I said stinginess is like a delusion, anger is like a delusion, right? And then the opposites that we practice on the relative level, like generosity or being kind, is actually also on the level of delusion. You know,
Yes.
It's my deluded positive reaction towards that deluded negative problem. Yes, but both are in the realm of delusion.
Yes.
But wisdom is beyond delusion. So therefore, what we need to get rid of is delusion, confusion, ego-centeredness, and however we call it. And only then we can see the true nature, what lies behind that. And that is the wisdom.
Okay, now then sorry guys, I stopped then. So in order to see that wisdom, I need Abhisheka.
No. Sorry, I'm very much on the side that Vajrayana is not the only answer to everything. No, yes, Vajrayana can help, Abhisheka, whatever. Yes, but there are also other ways, you know, to realize wisdom or to be pointed out that wisdom.
I stop now. Thank you.
But this was interesting. Thank you. And sorry for this. Yeah, there's many other excursions with this sun and clouds. Emilia, I see you have raised your hand, but maybe somebody else wanted to say something who didn't say something yet. Okay, then Emilia.
Well, maybe it relates to Marlene and how to bring wisdom there, but I have, where I work, there have been two other female academics that through means of sleeping with powerful guys, one got hired as a high rank, and the other one was coached all the way to being promoted. So two females who are full professors, which means at face value, they are full professors. And when now the verse is on rejoicing, on I don't think these are virtuous actions. So I have been, I can't say struggling, I just can't rejoice, you know. I think we all should get there and be promoted on our own merit, rather than going and trying to sleep with the right person who is gonna get you there. And maybe there is the karmic merit of like getting the promotion or being hired, but I just, I haven't been able to convince myself that I should rejoice. because I don't think that these are virtuous actions. It wasn't on the academic merit. You know what I mean?
Yes, it's the same. Like the Dalai Lama is saying, if I rob a bank, you know, and then I'm becoming super rich, the robbing of the bank is of course not meritorious, and you should not rejoice in that. Yes, and he is also saying the robbing of the bank is actually not the cause for experiencing the richness afterwards. The experience of the richness that I have afterwards is the result of many other good karmas I have done previously, you know, and then the result of me robbing the bank, that will come much later, you know, the negative result. So likewise in your example, yes, also Marlene was posting a big no.
No, sorry, it was, I was trying to get along with all these signs, with
okay,
all these items.
Okay, yeah, but anyway, yeah, I think, yes, we should not rejoice in that method. But if we are jealous that that person got a promotion, just that part, you know, then yes, for our own sake, we can work on our jealousy by trying to rejoice that that person has the promotion. You got it? As a mind training, you know. Yes, only that word.
Arne, for me, it's not jealousy, because I'm also one, but I did it on my marriage, and I just feel, I think it's very unfair on other people, like a proper, really good CV and so on, in the case of the one who was hired without really having a proper CV. And on the other one, the time the guy spent coaching her, he could have spent with dealing with PhD students and other people. So I think it's unfair, but at the same time, is there unfairness in samsara? I think I can appreciate that they both got there, and it's merit from past actions, but the way to get there, and being also females, you know, and so okay, you helped me, because I can't, I was never able to rejoice on the actions of both also becoming full professors. No, it's being a struggle. And look, I have asked other Buddhist folks, and one even called me as if I were very, you know, like very judgmental on blah, 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 because, anyway, I can't remember the word in English, but there is a word for that when you are totally against sexual misconduct, which was the case in both cases, prudish or something like that, you know, and I just took it, but I never accepted that those were virtues. So you finally, thanks, Arne. Finally, this dilemma that I've had is done, is sorted. Yeah, thanks.
I rejoice. Okay, guys, back to Shantideva. Thank you all for all that. 77. It's still on the same topic with rejoicing, and I think this more innocent example of the English team, I think it's still applicable here. That joyous happiness of yours would be a source of joy, not something prohibited, a precept given by the excellent ones and a supreme means for assembling others. Okay, sorry, I have to say still something to me. Because I think who started that? Here, Shashi with the Taliban. Of course, I'm not comparing the women that Amelia is talking about with the Taliban, but I doubt that they have an altruistic motivation when they sleep with their boss. Really, I doubt that they have an altruistic motivation. I think it's an ego-centered motivation and it's manipulative. So therefore, yes, let's not rejoice in that action. I think that needs to be said, of course. Yeah, of course, there's always an exception. If maybe, I don't know, a wisdom Dakini is doing that with an altruistic motivation, knowing that if she is the boss, she can really make a difference to the world, but that might be an exception. Yeah, but generally, I doubt it's altruistic why they do it. So therefore, it's not an action to be rejoiced with or in, I don't know. Yeah. So that is, I think, the main thing, you know, like in what we rejoice. It's always said positive actions, you know, we should rejoice of merit or virtue. But the definition of positive action in Buddhism is, especially in Mahayana Buddhism, is always altruistic or not, you know, that's it, you know, if it's benefiting others, or then that is a positive action. But if it's only benefiting oneself, then that's ego-centered.
Arne, do
Okay.
I have time to asking questions?
Yes, one moment, Medya. Kerstin was writing something first, and then Medya. Yeah, Kerstin, what is your thing?
Yeah, I'm someone who's not really used to dealing with anger at all. So far, until coming to the path, I was suddenly very much surprised by finding anger rise from nowhere, attacked from behind, and wondering, oh, what is this emotion? It was very strange to have that. And Rinpoche was talking about it the other day, that bodhichitta, in his teaching on bodhichitta, how actually it's not all benign, there's also that wrathful aspect to it. And when I realize this, I find myself at a loss how to deal with it. It brings up anger in me sometimes because I feel so helpless. Because there's not really much I can do other than watch it come and go, ideally, but it's so difficult not to react to it.
Hear it properly, sorry.
You can't hear me properly. Okay, I try to get closer. This anger relates to the wrathful aspect of bodhicitta that Rinpoche was talking about in his last teaching. Did you hear me?
Yes, no, yes.
Okay, so you heard me. And because I'm someone who's not at all used to dealing with anger at all as a reaction to things happening in life, when I come into situations and I have that wrathfulness arising, I feel really helpless because I always feel I should not react at all, and that it sort of slide or ride it like a big wave or something, but then I never manage. So I always find it so disturbing that I find myself getting angry, and I really don't know how to deal with that very well.
I didn't listen to the teaching yet. Wait, I mute you, otherwise there's a big echo here. I didn't listen to the teaching yet, but wrathful activity normally is something that is one needs a lot of wisdom, right? And control over one's mind in order to do it, and that control, of course, can happen if we have a lot of love or compassion. Like, the classic example is a loving mother who is shouting at a child because a gentle method would not work. If the child is running to the street and then there's a truck coming, the mother's gentle voice would not be enough, and say, listen, my dear one, this is dangerous, la la la. This will not work. So the mother has to express her compassion or love very wrathfully, to break through whatever concept, whatever story the child is entangled in, maybe running to the street to get his toys, or doesn't matter. So so therefore those great beings like a mother in that case, who have a tamed mind because they have so much love or so much wisdom, they can of course use that energy, but it's a wisdom energy actually, the raw energy, to and use it to benefit others, like the child. But usually our anger is not based on that, but it's really just the normal klesha, right? And therefore, that in my case at least, and therefore I cannot just let it control me. And your second part, how to deal with anger? Or?
Yeah, the second part was basically when these situations are difficult to understand to begin with, and I think the anger is based on fear essentially, because I don't understand. Well, ignorance. Fear sprung from ignorance and turned into anger in a reaction because I don't know exactly what is happening, where it's coming from, why it's happening. And then I try to step back to just, let things pass and try to meditate on it afterwards at some point. But it's really difficult to remain calm in these situations when you get pushed, if you know what I mean.
Yes, but for that, Shantideva has all the methods here. Sorry, I mute you again because there's bad echo, but you can unmute again. Yes, I agree. All our negative emotions, they come from insecurity or fear, because we are not understanding how things really are, or we are not willing to understand, or we are not willing to live aligned with reality, and therefore these emotions come. And yes, in general, it's helpful to to understand that mechanism and try to understand more how things functioning, and therefore we study all these conventional truth teachings on karma, for example, or interdependence, and on how beings are overpowered by negative emotions, and they, at least on an intellectual level, should help us to get a little bit different perspectives, or in regards to our anger, or have different ideas to deal with it. Sorry, that is a very vague answer, but but yes, there are all these many methods, to work with anger, and I think there are 21,000 taught by Buddha. But understanding is definitely a big part always in Buddhism. Like compassion comes only from understanding, patience comes only from understanding. Like earlier, like Shantideva was analyzing so much to really understand that yes, if somebody is beating me with a stick, you know, it's not the stick I'm angry, and it should not be the person also that I'm angry, but it should be the anger of the person that I should be angry with, you know, like this kind of understanding who is the real culprit, that helps, yeah. And of course, it's only an intellectual understanding in the beginning, but the more we get familiar with that or meditate on that, the less intellectual it stays, and the more it becomes really our view. Okay, Mitya, what did you say? But still, conscious anger still makes me feel
Finally, my turn. So it's okay. I'm sorry for the other audience. Hopefully you're not be disturbed by me. Me and Arne, he know my bad composure sometimes. So I just straight out like this. So here's the updates. During these sessions of, say, discussing about patient, but as you see from the way I'm talking, I kind of like having this kind of energy of anger. Actually, I'm trying to suppress it down because I just received a message from my supervisor and the director and something going wrong. So besides of that, so I just give you some updates on last year when we talk about this patient section chapter, those kind of tips of when we anger, stay like a log in the mental state, it's helpful. But after this 1 year of pandemic and all the stress going on, and now the deaths in Indonesia is getting higher and higher, and everybody you find in your WhatsApp group, there's some announcement of obituary of someone. I found a solution. I don't know whether maybe it's useful for the other audience. I realized after, I don't know, sometimes it's pop up, maybe I hear from Rinpoche saying that somewhere. The second tips after the stay like a log cannot work for me anymore is begin to think that, okay, I have to understand that whatever I do, I will never able to give a proper solution because I'm not yet reached the 7th Bhumi Bodhisattva level. So all I'm projection, all my perception, all my effort cannot be fit in with what actually needed there, because it's my inability to really comprehend the situation. And that kind of tips that I'm kind of like clicking, it's worked for me for this year. So it's an update for you on. I'm kind of having this kind of thing. And then my question is actually, I wonder how come you kind of like slowing this chapter 6 all about passion all the time. I don't know whether you do it for compassionate beings like me who is always burning in anger and impatient, but I kind of like curious, do you intentionally prolong this session because you want me to remind and immerse? So just after, maybe if I really recall it from my head and to my heart, maybe when I'm really in the wave of this turbulence, strong, powerful anger, kind of like there's some kind of like saving boat running around so I can catch up myself and not be drowned or be dragged by those anger. I kind of like suspicious that you are intentionally prolong this chapter 6 because you know this is a really key for everybody because it's the most powerful emotions that kind of like powerful emotions that really above all of the other emotions, patience is very superior. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you first for your update. And second, it's interesting, your observation. I personally don't have intention to talk about, to cover the 6th chapter over so many sessions. But as you might have noticed today already, the beauty of these meetings here is always the interactiveness, which takes, of course, a lot of time, and hence we are not really progressing so much. And I was talking with two friends about that also, and because I want also these sessions to be loyal to Shantideva, you know, that is of course the main aim here. But on the other hand, yes, we could make it less interactive, and then we would be faster. But then you guys could maybe better watch a video by Tsongtse Khyentse Rinpoche on this chapter, like a recorded video, which is of course not interactive because it is recorded, and so that would be, and so therefore, yeah, I think it's a beauty and a possibility, you know, that we can be interactive since it's live, you know.
Can you give comment about my 7 Bhumi Bodhisattva who know the others people's mind properly, you know, kind of rightly, you know, that kind of memory? Is that I'm getting it right from one of Rinpoche's teaching? Do you remember that?
Yes, but I think also on the first Bhumi already you can do that.
Really? So I don't have to wait until 7 level. First Bhumi can? Oh, I still have a hope then.
Yeah, really, I like, for me, my only aim is to reach the first Bhumi. That would be good enough.
Then my ambition, I pray I reach at least 1 Bhumi, okay? Level 1, yeah. It's okay, okay.
I mean, in this life, you know, in this life, our own.
Yeah, that's why.
That would be good enough.
After hearing the last time of Rinpoche session of bodhicitta, I kind of like feel motivated, and this kind of like thoughts that all I do, no matter what, sometimes it just doesn't work. So I have to really acknowledge it is my limitation because I'm not yet a level of bodhisattva. That's why maybe my approach will not be successful. So
of course,
I don't have to blame myself anymore, or blame others, or, you know, more harshly push it to the other person or the condition. So it kind of like helped me a little bit, but still I'm powerful with anger. Not so good, isn't it? I'm hopeless.
Yeah, but as you said, you know, everything is like a guess job. You know, that is what Tsongtse Khyentse Rinpoche said. You know, as a samsaric beings, we can only guess what is the right thing to do because we don't understand the situation properly. But then on the Bhumis, it's still a guess job, but it's getting more refined until we become a Buddha. But just to finish what I tried to say earlier, so yes, in these sessions here, I try to be loyal to Shantideva, but on the other hand, I also want to be loyal to the beauty of interactiveness here. So yes, it's difficult to find a middle way, maybe, and but that is definitely the reason why we are not rushing through the stanzas. And why it takes so long. So, and I'm still not, I'm still struggling to find the right balance there. And but since time is nearly over, I still want to finish with one stanza by Shantideva. Sorry, it just takes 2 minutes, and I will share that. It's also a nice conclusion about rejoicing and jealousy. Oh no, that's the wrong thing. I shared that already. So I'll read it again. That joyous happiness of use would be a source of joy, not something prohibited, a precept given by the excellent ones and a supreme means for assembling others. So here Shantideva is telling me 4 benefits if I praise the English football team, yeah? So praising the enemy, you know, 4 benefits of that. The first is, it makes me happy, you know? Don't forget, if we rejoice in something, if we praise something, that is actually appreciating their qualities, you know, and also implicitly wishing to attain these qualities, and that already makes us happy. It's the opposite of our jealousy. First benefit, not to be underestimated. It's one of the 4 immeasurables, right? The immeasurable joy. And that is really benefiting my mind now and for the future. Yeah, so it's joy, and it is not. So it is the second here. It's a source of joy, and it's not prohibited by the Buddha. You know, the Buddha said some things. You know, give some rules what to avoid. You know, for example, too much alcohol, or maybe eating meat, and so on. You know, those rules. He gave, and if we drink alcohol and maybe eat meat, maybe we have some joy. Yes. But that is a very like worldly joy or worldly pleasure. But here, praising somebody is not prohibited by the Buddha, and it is much source for real joy. As I said, you know, it has no negative consequences, like drinking alcohol and then doing stupid things, or eating meat has negative karmic consequences and so on. But rejoicing with somebody is not like that. A precept given by the excellent ones. Yeah, it's even something that Buddha and the Bodhisattvas or the masters, they actively taught, you know, that rejoicing or praising is a practice, you know. As you know, in the beginning of many Indian classical texts, Buddhist texts, it's always, you know, there's a praise always to Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Manjushri, the Guru, the Yidam. What else? Yeah, I think those, you know. So that is always there. It's really a practice that is encouraged. And last but not least, praising is also a good trick. If you are a good teacher, you know, then we practice these 4 ways of gathering beings. So the question is, how can we gather disciples? And here, that is definitely one thing. You know, if we speak nicely about others, pleasantly, in a praising way, of course, we need to mean it, you know, just like lip service is not doing the trick, you know. But if we really mean it, that really brings people together, you know, and it wins people's hearts, you know. It attracts people. And yeah, then the English team will also be friends with the Germans, you know. And so it unites people. And then, yeah, if one is a Bodhisattva, which Shantideva is assuming here in the 6th chapter, so we have something to share, we have something to teach, then it's good, you know, to attract people like that, you know, to make friends with people, to live in harmony and not having that big dualistic split, you know, I'm here, the enemies are there, you know, but then it's more like a togetherness. So that is good, you know, it's assembling others. But the opposite would be, yeah, if we are full of pleasures, desire, anger, and so on. And then, of course, we, what I mentioned in the beginning, you know, the gap between ourselves and others will be bigger, you know, and there will be more conflicts and arguments and disputes. And that is really the opposite. So therefore, here in these 4 lines, Shantideva is, I think, very nicely putting together the 4 benefits of rejoicing. So we are so much over time. Sorry for that. And again, thank you for your interactiveness. And let's do some prayers. Where are they? A moment. By this merit, having attained omniscience and defeated the enemy of wrongdoings, may I free all beings from the ocean of existence, with its tumultuous wave of birth, old age, sickness, and death. Just as the heroic Manjushri, that is sort of rejoicing also, who knows everything as it is, and as Samantabhata likewise did too, just so to follow all of them and train myself, I perfectly dedicate these meritorious actions. May the precious supreme bodhicitta arise in those in whom it has not arisen. Having arisen, may it not diminish, but ever expand more and more. As long as space remains, and as long as the world remains, may we too remain to elevate the suffering of the world. That's it. Thank you so much. Take good care. Stay happy and healthy and patient. And see you another time. For example,
Thank
tomorrow
you,
we have,
Arne.
thank you. Tomorrow, for example, we have like 1 hour question answer session on whatever Buddhist topic, let's say.
Tomorrow at 1 o'clock, is it? German time?
No, I think 12 o'clock German time.
It's
No, 1
5
o'clock German.
5 o'clock in Indonesia time.
Right. No, 12 o'clock.
No, I understood it's Britain 12 o'clock and Germany 1 o'clock.
I think it's 12 German time.
Yeah, must be really.
12
At 1
noon.
o'clock I have something else. Yeah. Then maybe the announcement was wrong. I will check the announcement, but it's at noon in Germany.
Okay.
We gossiping time, isn't it?
What's that?
It's gossiping time, isn't it?
Yeah, but yes. Okay, bye-bye, guys.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.